Velma, the show that makes you realize why stocks were invented. A place used to hold miscreants so that you can throw soft material at them, which prevented them from getting potatoed to death. If that was still around, I definitely think we'd have less of shows like Velma, despite its apparent incredible success. Don't you know that Velma is now more popular than The Last of Us? Well, at least according to CBR that tried to spin that one. Velma won its debut, beating out fellow HBO series The Last of Us. If you think there's no way that's true, yes, exactly. Velma's popularity spikes by 127%, despite overwhelmingly negative reviews. I'd say I'd like to apologize for that, but that would be a bigger whopper than they're actually getting away with here. And like basically every single time this happens with a horrible show, the person who's involved is obviously Parrot Analytics data. This ranks the in-demand shows, which places it a bit higher than The Last of Us. Their definition of in-demand doing the most work here. Because I don't know about you, but 6% doesn't exactly seem like in-demand for me, especially when only 31 critics have even dared wade into the swamp, which is this animation. Yeah, Parrot Analytics is a paradigm shift in how we measure audiences on a global scale. In other words, nobody else does it like this, and for very good reason. They measure things not only like streaming downloads, but also social media interaction and microblogs. And no matter how much they hide behind empirical evidence of consumer behavior, or say they measure signals that typify intent, it turns out what they measure are things like social media comments and likes on a Facebook page. Oh, everyone's tweeting and retweeting things about Velma, must mean they're going to watch it. Whoever invented this thing does not understand the concept of taking the piss. They even go further and say it's not just physical interpretation. We don't just count up the numbers and see who's more. Oh no, we actually arbitrarily weight all of the signals so they get a load of figures and then just multiply it by a random number, and off we go. Suddenly Velma is more successful than The Last of Us, all because a load of people failed at maths. Seems like a load of BS to me, and a lot like, you know, you shouldn't talk about this show or laugh at it and actually tell people how bad it is, because if you do, we're going to use that to claim how successful it's being. No, you just don't know what you're talking about, because I can promise you, people taking the piss out of Velma does not signal audience activation. In fact, the only thing on this page which is accurate about Velma is that its content is more likely to fail than succeed. But let's check in on why Velma is almost universally despised in episode 5.
If my friend didn't text me back, I actually was going to die.
Okay, maybe the show's looking up after all. I didn't know that was on the cards.
But when I was with her, the only mystery I wanted to solve
is what's inside her pant.
Case of the missing inhibitions.
Missing inhibitions? Really? Not why she can't even do live long and prosper at you from across the street.
Norville's MIA and my walking pace attracts vultures.
That's probably not your walking pace. It's far more likely you just smell like a corpse. But her dad's cleaning. There's Velma's on a roll on the left-hand side, and we get this.
Baby's coming home tomorrow, so we need to clean.
Based economy.
That dude just became the most likable part of the show. Also gets replaced with Welcome Home Baby Amanda because she's way more important than you are, dear.
You're leaving me home alone with a murderer on the loose? Even though I was voted most likely to be murdered before any of this?
I mean, he's got to set up an alibi somehow, and I'm just surprised they had to vote on who was most likely to be murdered rather than setting up a GoFundMe. We even have a picture in the back that says everything tastes better with wine, which makes a lot of sense because this entire show feels like it was written by a middle-aged wine mom. And when I say mom, I obviously mean of cats. But there's a band sleepover and Velma goes to visit.
Wait until you see how much pizza I eat. I can eat 3 slices.
There's no way you stop at 3 slices. Or what you're saying, that if a pizza isn't cut, then the entire thing is 1 slice. Velma walks up to him asking if they've seen Norville, with a drawing of him as if they wouldn't know who Norville was. It's band practice. It's a very small group of people who all know each other. They don't need your hand drawing of him, dear. Besides, what year is this? Do you not have a picture on your phone?
Have you seen Norville? Tall, blue eyes? Maybe?
You've spent the entire season taking the piss out of Fred because he can't recognize people and you don't even know what Norville looks like. Unless by your own drawing, he's got a wonky face. And why do you write like a 2-year-old which has got no arms? I don't understand. The school gets visited by the sheriff.
We just learned someone somewhere is being intolerant.
Oh, no, it's the London Met again. Yeah, we're just coming around to check your thinking and make sure you've got a license for that keyboard over there. What's that? You've got an opinion? That's the last one you'll be having as a free man, me laddie. I don't know whether that reaction was reserved for the cops or Velma had just entered the room. It turns out, though, that the protection that they've been providing around the school has had to be gotten rid of because of the massive amount of complaints they've been getting.
From the police.
Uh-oh, I just rear-ended a cop.
I don't look for these moments. I don't try and put them in every show. They just keep happening, and so I'm left with only one option. whore. Either way, due to this, all the officers have resigned, and so we've got to close the school for their own protection. We could have told people to close the legs rather than closing the school, but this is 2023. You can't do that, you bigot. They're also instituting a 9 p.m. curfew where you can't be outside, because if you are going to get murdered by a serial killer, at least it should happen at home where you're nice and comfy. I'm not joking, that's the only benefit I can actually see. But it does mean all the school clubs are cancelled, including the band Sleepover.
Yes!
I don't know why Velma's so excited that it's been cancelled. She seems to think that all of these people in the band are beneath it, when actually they're the one doing her a favour by letting her in the room. I mean, can you imagine playing a musical instrument, and then just out of the corner of your eye, you happen to see Velma's face? You're gonna vomit straight into your trombone. And I mean, look, I'm no brass player, but that whole tubey thing, that's gonna be propelled out the other end at force and go everywhere. Hopefully at Velma, if we're lucky. In what seems like an entirely unrelated storyline, Daphne goes back to the mines without Norville, even though the last time she left with Norville because she didn't want to enter them alone, which she's doing now. I don't think you should apply logic to this show, it just doesn't work. She sees a danger do not enter sign, and then we get this.
Sorry sign, but hot people are cut too much slack to heed warnings.
I mean, sure, it's well documented that the more attractive you are, the lower the court sentence a judge will give you. But this is a sign that's for your own safety. This isn't trespassers will be prosecuted sign. This is danger of like falling rocks and a mountain collapsing on you. Being hot isn't going to prevent you from that unless you use so much hairspray that you've actually got essentially a hardened helmet on your face. Okay, now you're just taking the piss. There's no way you and your little twig arms have just ripped open a wall. She gets scared when a load of bats fly out the entrance. And kidnapped by someone in the mine, which I'm not sure why she's that bothered about. She was going to go in there on her own a few seconds later anyway. Fred's still trying to impress Velma with a t-shirt on that says Female Mind Inspector. Yeah, he's still under the influence of that book from last week. But I have to say, why on earth do you want to do this? It's not that men can't understand them. It's that they don't want to. Look, you may have very good reasons why you have 16 different types of cushions on a bed to protect you from the dangers of a padded mattress. But I just don't care.
I will also win your heart by proving I am a helpful ally, sister.
You're trying to pull her by calling her your sister. Not only do you need a washing machine, you need to be part of a Discovery Plus reality TV series. A dating show haunted by the spectre of people keeping it inside the family. Oh, don't worry, I'm definitely going to see if I can make a video out of that one later.
I'm glad reading the feminine mystique caused a little growth.
Get it? A little growth. We're taking the piss out of Fred again. But really, this is just a comment on the book. The only thing that book has ever done to a man is make him smaller. Generally in growing.
Shush, a feminist is speaking.
Oh no, someone took Tumblr and turned it into an animation. Fred, in all his wisdom and rather completely mentally unhinged desire to spend time around Velma, actually finds out there was some woman at an insane asylum that would run immoral experiments on people, and I'm just thinking, what, is she making them watch this show or something? Because that's the only thing that would make Velma look as horrified as I feel.
Norville, you have a girlfriend?
I haven't seen a reaction that over the top since the last time a Twitch streamer got caught with one.
This makes me think I could bag Don Lemon.
Firstly, why would anyone want to bag Don Lemon? Secondly, why does it make you think that you could? She's way more attractive than you. We already established that in the last episode. You spent 25 minutes trying to drag her down to your level, unsuccessfully.
How did this happen?
When a man and a woman get together and they love each other very much, and neither of them look like they've had their face already destroyed by a blender. Velma loves the idea though, because now Norville can talk to Gigi about all of his feelings, and keep his time with her strictly about finding her mom, you see. Because she uses people, and as we know, men constantly whining to people about their feelings is a stereotypical trait of masculinity. I can't see any flaws in Velma's logic, ever. She's the compass that always points to the exact opposite of correct.
Gigi and I have decided maybe I should spend less time with you.
Everyone should spend less time with Velma. That's actually the secret 5th law of thermodynamics. No entertainment value with Velma is created. It's just destroyed.
Sorry, Velma, but until Norville learns to stand up for himself, he's gonna do exactly as I say.
Wow, with attitudes like that, I can't imagine why the cat population keeps increasing in America. Since 1970, the number has skyrocketed, almost in perfect correlation to how insufferable people are.
Fine, great. No sweat off my underboob.
You are a disgusting, repulsive human being, dear. Even if it's true, I didn't need to know it, and suddenly the kind folk at home didn't. I knew you were a repulsive creature when I pressed play, but everyone else, they could have got suckered into this by the YouTube algorithm. Oh, this cartoon review looks nice. Let's just see this. Oh, the horror! This show has sold more bottles of whiskey than their own company's advertisement campaigns. But without Velma to follow around like a puppy dog, because he's following someone else around like a puppy dog, now Fred can move in and fill that hole. You know, the emotional one, not the probably acidic bacterial swamp, which I can only imagine has teeth surrounding it. Daphne's pointless story continues. It turns out these are a part of a criminal gang which have been living in the mines, and they're actually her parents in disguise, because until they actually trust her, she can't see their faces. And her parents have been lying to her. She wasn't actually found in a field. They stole her from these people. The scene ends as they send her off to Google their criminal gang.
You weren't abandoned, Daphne. Your mom stole you from us.
This scene drags on forever and contributes absolutely nothing. I can only assume they were just like, well, we need Daphne to do something, and we've written her as such a 2D character. This is the only thing we can think of.
How long have you been in here?
Hello? Hello? Did you really just do an Irish exit?
What on earth is an Irish exit where you get pissed and stagger to a doorway? You walk home and it's 3 times the distance because you keep snaking left and right. And hey, I was brought up in the 90s with binge culture. I'm not any better. Velma and Fred go off to visit the Historical Society for a rather strange reason.
Places like this help skipgates learn which white actors are descended from slave owners.
Who cares? Dude, at some time in history, a guy that isn't you did something, and you need to take responsibility for that. If you really want to take that logic, you created Velma. Imagine the horrors your descendants will be subjected to. Unfortunately, the psychiatrist's journals they've come looking for have been missing for a long time by the looks of it, with the last person who borrowed them to be Velma's mum.
My mom was researching a mad scientist and then disappeared at her house?
She didn't disappear, she ran away from you. You even proved this in your previous episodes. How could she disappear? No, she drove off because you were repulsive. You still are repulsive, that's why I believe the story. She starts to hallucinate because she's thinking about a mystery and asks Fred to help her like Norville did in the past.
I would, but all I can think of right now is the gender pay gap. Women make 20% less than men.
If you can see it, you can be it. And if Star Trek Discovery only taught us one thing, and it did, is that you can be a woman in STEM. It'd certainly pay a lot better than taking up a gender studies degree and writing Velma. You could get paid £1 per viewer, you're still not paying your rent. You don't need 20% less for this show. Getting paid at all is charity. But Velma's hallucinations continue until that glorious moment.
Does anyone have a defibrillator?
She's died. Congratulations, folks. That's the end of the series. Thank you. No, just joking. Obviously, they all have a defibrillator. She does actually come back alive again, crushing all of our hopes and dreams.
Separate reality dating shows' exploitation of women from my obsessive need to watch them.
How is anyone exploited when I'm like, do you want to go on a reality TV show? And they go, yes, I do. I agreed to do this and you should take responsibility for it. Turns out that grown adults need to take responsibility for their own actions. Who knew? Velma decides the only way she can get Norville back is to throw a whole band sleepover at her house, despite the fact that Norville wasn't going to attend the first one in the first place, but this time he'll definitely turn up for the second one. It's a bit weird. Also, how are your eyebrows over your fringe? I've only just noticed, but this is really weird. Are they like really thick and have grown through your hair? They're more like brushes than eyebrows. I don't know how I didn't notice before. It happens all the time. At least they do go underneath her glasses because that could have got weird. The rest of the episode is basically this sleepover, and I have no idea why. Fred goes to go pizza. That's its own storyline. I wish I was joking, but this entire thing feels like it was written by a zoo animal on LSD. We're gonna need a Joe Rogan interview just to explain the effects of all the chemicals they've been taking.
I'd rather kiss a toilet. But speaking of kissing toilets, I still want to win your heart by helping you.
Yeah, Fred is surprisingly accurate in the occasional statement that he does in this show. Velma, look, I know what you secrete probably resembles alien blood and would actually burn its way through any physical matter underneath you. But despite that, for some reason, I read this book, got brainwashed, and now I can't stop thinking about you. It's not the best Valentine's Day card, but at least it'd be honest. Daphne finds out more information about the Crystal Mine Gang after the entire mine closed. They decided to use the mine's tunnels underneath the city to go around and steal things. She calls them tunnels beneath the city, but it's actually just the sewers. That's right, this show thinks that sewers are actually old mining tunnels. It's a bit like when someone's lived in a city before and so hasn't seen farm animals and thinks a sheep is a cow. And if you think, oh no, that could never happen, you've clearly never seen The British Apprentice. And she finds out, my parents shut down the gang and found the infant that was with them.
Genetically, I'm a villain.
To be fair, Velma's a villain in her actions, her morals, her thinking, every way that matters, and you're just like, oh, my DNA. Actually, no, by the morals of this show, because your parents were criminals, that obviously means that you should be arrested and held accountable for their actions as well. Remember. Hey, what's good for the goose is good for the Daphne.
No wonder I'm attracted to a girl who looks like a little henchman.
Does she? I don't even know who you mean. Are you like comparing her to Knick Knack? I could probably see Velma as Oddjob, except rather than lobbing bowler hats at people, she just lobbed like tweets. Now, for some reason, Norville decides to turn up at this band practice sleepover, even though he wasn't going to turn up at the first one.
For some reason, you've chosen Gigi, a beautiful girl, over your angry friend.
Whoa, calm down, Velma. You're being a little bit unfair there. You're not anybody's friend. But she tends to guilt-tripping into actually helping her because, I don't know why, maybe she realizes that she's completely intellectually deficient and can't even survive in life without everybody else doing all of her work for her. I'm kind of being serious. She basically admits that in the episode. Doesn't see it as a character flaw, though. Apparently, no, that's just a feature of her life. Turns out, though, Gigi, like the horse, has actually decided to turn up at band practice. She joined band practice after Norville had spoken about it to spend time with him. Actually wanting to take part in your partner's hobbies as part of a successful relationship. I can fully understand why Velma despises it.
How dare you? I'm a flutatist.
That's not a word. I also think they know that's not a word because of how she said it. I don't even know what we're doing anymore. We're now trying to humiliate Velma by proving that she has no idea what she's talking about? Because that's what it seems like we're getting in the show now. I no longer know who this show is even meant to support because everybody in it is an idiot. And I mean everybody is an idiot because they decide to have a flute off and we get this. Yeah, she's crap, but the worst thing is we get to Velma.
There's about to be a drive-by fluting.
I'm sorry I had to put you through that line, but I thought it was important. And it gets worse. Wheel of Time episode 5 was the one that broke me near the end, and I have a feeling Velma's just managed it as well. We only win when Velma passes out. And I use win in the loosest possible terminology because they actually celebrate that crap. I mean, I've heard of everyone gets a trophy, but that's taking it a little bit far. Everyone's getting hungry, so they have to check in on the pizza, and I'm not joking, this is part of the major storyline for the second half of the episode. Fred's ordering the pizza, but they're made incorrectly, and he really wants to impress Velma. And because they're not up to scratch, he knocks them all on the floor and gets him to make them again. Velma's arguing with Gigi like the horse, and begs for her to actually let her spend time with Norville. Even gets down on her knees and everything. Which, to be fair, if she'd done that before, Norville might have wanted to spend a lot more time with her.
Please, please, please let Norville help me. I need him.
Considering you've treated him like crap for the other 4 episodes, I'm not sure why suddenly we've changed our tune. None of these episodes seem timed together. Daphne confronts her parents, who come out with the same story they always have, which makes it seem suspicious.
So my origin is the exact same as Superman?
We don't know who that is.
To be fair, given the quality of people who work in animation and DC at the moment, I can fully believe it. But Velma says, I just want to share Norville. You know, I have him whenever I want, and you can have him whenever I don't. And during the conversation, it comes out that his family is struggling right now.
Dr. Edna Purdue is your grandmother?
I don't know why anyone should care. It's his grandmother. Or are we now gonna go, you're genetically likely to actually conduct immoral experiments in an insane asylum? We're really going to take this idea of original sin to the ultimate absurd conclusion, or are we just keeping that for the historical society again? Please, I can't keep it straight in my head because your nonsensical beliefs are, well, the clue is in the name.
I swore you to secrecy. You placed your hand on your verified checkmark and everything.
I mean, that was clearly written before it cost $8 a month, wasn't it? You promised on the aristocracy to tell the truth. I can't believe you'd lie to me. Someone in the aristocracy would never do that.
How could you tell Gigi and not me?
Why did you name her after a horse? No, I'm not making that up. A Gigi is a horse. That's from the Cambridge Dictionary. And it's the only thing I can think of every single time she says it. So Norville storms off. I shouldn't have told either of you. I knew you'd kick up a fuss about it, and it's basically pointless. So why does anybody care?
I never should have trusted either of you.
Norville.
At this point, Norville is just my voice going through my own head, screaming, I don't know why you're doing this. Why do you care? But he storms out the house. Fred comes home with all his pizza, only for Norville to run straight into him, and they lose all the pizza.
It's okay. This is just what they call Detroit-style pizza.
But then the police drive over it. Now it's California. But the police mean that curfew's kicked in, so Norville is stuck at her house. She's basically kidnapped him, and is now going to bully him for the rest of the night, asking him all of his secrets. And Velma clearly doesn't care because she's scared off her own mom, so why would she care about anyone else's? At that moment, though, there's a crashing noise in the front room. The band has gone crazy. They start eating the carpet out of sheer desperation and hunger. They're smashing vases, chewing up cushions.
Told you not to mess up my house. I'll be disowned.
I mean, you've already scared your mum off with your abhorrent behavior. If your dad has managed to stick you this far, I don't see what else you could do to him. At this point, Velma, living with you is just a broken man trying to get through the next day.
And I'm too old and mouthy to be adopted.
Based economy.
At least she's self-aware. So they decide to go to another restaurant where a health worker called it I Quit.
It was almost a good idea. Guess my house will just get destroyed.
She deliberately guilt trips and manipulates Norville into doing her own bidding for her because she's a complete and utter evil, insufferable person who absolutely no one in society should ever even contemplate spending a second around in her company. Do you remember the old Scooby Doo where this was actually a group of friends? We get an ultimatum from Gigi, the horse, that if you do anything for her, I've already warned you, we're through. And he's like, well, okay, I'm definitely choosing Velma then. This doesn't make any sense. Why would anyone choose Velma over her?
I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. I'm simping for myself.
No, you're doing it because you're emotionally blackmailed by someone who's deliberately manipulating you because she's an evil cow. There's a difference between that and morality.
Oh, yuck.
So Velma tries to get cop car keys from Daphne so they can drive through the city.
All I want to do is help you.
Really?
Yes, immediately after you do me a huge favor.
Okay, we've already got someone called Gigi. Can we just replace Velma with a horse? Because right now, if we replace all of Velma's lines with a horse neighing, this show would drastically improve. As they drive off, Daphne actually discovers a sewer, which is obviously the gang's tunnels. There's a boat down there waiting for her, although I don't know why she needs this, considering she should just go back to the mines where she found them last time. She's treating this as if I've discovered your secret base. No, you already discovered their secret base. The entire point of the sewers is that it linked back to the mines, which was their secret base. Meanwhile, Velma and the gang are actually collecting food from the bins of a restaurant round the back.
All right, let's get out of here. Those roaches are not happy we're stealing their homes.
Yes, it's disgusting, but let's be honest, it's still better than Velma's cooking.
I want to write an IOU for the food. And if we don't support a small business owned by a woman of color, who will?
Everybody else that needs that product and considers that product to be worth the value that they're paying for it, you know, like any business, you realize what you're saying here. And you're like, we should support this. By the way, a food inspector's already closed it down because it was so disgusting and they just kept trading anyway, which is why we can just eat from their bins and it's basically the same quality. I'm not sure you're sending the message you think you are with this scene.
Wow, Norville, you're not just a better friend than I am. You're a better person.
Satan is a better person than you are, Velma. I'm not really sure you're saying much here.
And I give homeless people hella nickels.
But the cops turn up to enforce the curfew and Velma runs out to distract him.
What are you gonna do about that?
Based economy.
Who said this show wasn't funny? There's nothing funnier than someone getting what they deserve. Surprisingly, after getting hit by a car, Velma is in remarkably good shape. I can't tell any difference about her at all. Daphne descends into the sewers so she can follow the tunnels to the Crystal Mine Gang's home base, which is going to be the mine she was at the start of the episode, so what's the point of this? And Velma, having found Norville's parents in prison, gets told that as long as you don't tell people about this, then I will tell you everything you want to know about my mother. So Velma, who considers herself a detective, has just found the next part of the story by luck and coincidence. What is this? Knives Out? And at this point, I have no idea what's going on with this show. It doesn't have a story. There's one overarching thing about who scooped out those people's brains, and nothing. It doesn't move on every episode. The only part of this episode which actually had anything to do with it was just the coincidental meeting that happened in a couple of seconds in prison right at the end, and it was all coincidence. At least Scooby Doo had self-contained episodes so you can move the plot along. It doesn't seem like they care about it at all, and it doesn't even feel like there's a plot for each episode. This is just a load of events that happen, and for some reason, I think we're supposed to think it's funny because lol so random, which is the typical method of entertaining 7-year-olds who can only have an attention span of 5 seconds. I don't know, maybe that's the target market for Scooby Doo, but if it is, that makes all of the humor a lot worse. And the situations, which definitely shouldn't be shown to anyone who's not an adult. You can't have the excuse go both ways, and even if you did, the show's still going to be awful. So at the end of the day, I have to ask, who was this made for? Because this show is so bad at just an embodiment of one person's own insecurities and their way they think the world should be, that I don't think it actually has an audience. I think it was literally just made for the writer themselves. Well, those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe. More videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.